Hey, David Ralphoff here. I just wanted to do a quick video on something that's really interesting that you can do with Elixir um, that I really appreciate and wasn't available. And I do a lot of work. I've done a lot of work in Ruby and JavaScript, and it's something that's not available there. But I find it's a really clean way to handle some kind of common problems and avoid what could turn into like a lot of branching or nested branching. So there's a few different ways. I'm going to try to show you how to do this, but you'll notice here I have what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take some integers essentially, or I guess they're floats. I don't know, and call a float.ceiling on them with like a precision of 2. So I want like 2 numbers after the decimal place, because I'm trying to take numbers and like turn them into dollar amounts, and I think they're really long floats that just go out, uh, many digits. So what I've done here is you can see I have 2 functions that have the exact same name, and this is kind of one of the things I really like about Elixir. So basically, you can have functions that handle different scenarios or different like patterns of data or different values for your data. And it'll essentially just run them in order. So it's going to try to match starting here. And if that doesn't work, it'll fall through and try to match again. And you can just kind of keep defining as many as you want to. There's different styles for how to write these, but I feel like this is a pretty intuitive one. So in this case, the problem I was running into was if I asked for a float.ceiling of what this is really doing is calling this with some other number and then a precision of 2 decimal places. So if I was to call that with 0 and 2, it didn't really know what to do, because like, what does it mean to take the ceiling of 0 and go out to 2 decimal places? So it was just giving me an error on that. That was a case that isn't supported by float.ceiling. So I had a few different choices, and in a lot of languages you would do something like if amount, is equal to 0, do it one way. Otherwise, do it this other way. But one thing I don't like about that is it encourages branching, and then wherever you have branching, a lot of times you'll end up with nested branching, and it just gets a little hard to read. So I'm going to back that out. So doing it this way, you can say we still got a method or a function called $2 that takes an amount, but when that amount is 0, we can just handle that case right away here. And it helps kind of keep this clean. Like, you can see here that the intent is for everything else, every other situation, you just want to pass amount into float.ceiling with a precision of 2 and then be done with it. Now, if you wanted to, because of how Elixir does pattern matching, you could actually just say 0 here. And so it would know anytime $2 is called with 0, you want to handle it this way. Now, the reason I didn't do that is in some ways it's tempting because it's nice and short, and it's somewhat intuitive. If you're calling $2, it's probably you're probably doing that for like some number, integer or float or whatever. But I typically like to always make sure I have labels to help with the semantics of whatever it is I'm trying to do. So I kind of prefer having, calling $2 with an amount, and then it's really clear that 0 is an amount. It's just 0. And then saying when amount is 0, handle it this way. So yeah, I find that to be just a really cool feature of the language, and really helps out with not having big conditional statements, branching logic, and also helps the methods be really concise and focused. Like you know exactly what the intent is at this point. And then Another thing that's interesting about this is you'll actually see that this is used a lot in different modules in Elixir. So when you're doing debugging, I actually find it's super clear because you might hit an unexpected error with something that you're using, like float.ceiling, for example. And when it shows you where it failed, a lot of the times you'll see code that looks a lot like this, where it's checking for a few very specific cases, and it immediately becomes clear like you didn't hit any of those cases. So it gives you a really clear idea of like what it's expecting and how what you're sending in is going to differ from whatever the standard cases are that it's trying to deal with. Another place where this can really come in handy is you're going to probably do a lot of recursion in Elixir. And with any style of recursion, you typically are going to tease out a base case or two, and then have whatever kind of the other like recursive cases. And the thing that's nice about this is you can use the same function name for those two cases, or what would be kind of like two branches, I guess. But you can just make it really clear that one's for the base case, and you would have something that looks a lot like this, where it defines what the base case is, like 0 or empty list or something like that. And then the other case would just handle all the other cases, essentially. And it makes it really easy to understand. Makes it really clear to see what's going on, like that there's a base case and there's a recursive case. So anyway, I find the style to be really, I won't necessarily say intuitive, but once you kind of get into that functional mindset and get used to this pattern, I find it's really easy for me to understand quickly, like what's going on. And even when I'm looking at somebody else's code, like when I hit this problem with float.ceiling, that was pretty easy to see what the intent was of that. But yeah, this is one of those cool idioms. I'm going to try to maybe cover some more of these too. So if you found this useful, either hit like or let me know in the comments. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.